Okay, welcome
Great. Cool.
guys. I'm
Awesome.
here with Nick Young, eight-figure private label seller in 3 years. Pretty phenomenal. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Very good, very good. Um, so I guess to get started, do you want to just tell us your story?
Yeah, sure. I started 3 years ago. Going backwards a little bit, I have a background, working in tech. I graduated from SC, worked at a variety of different startups. Always wanted to start my own company. And so 3 years ago, I partnered with my business partner. We both took the dive and just took a plunge, not sure what we wanted to do. So we started off, selling, creating like a pure play e-commerce site. We wanted to sell like mail, home goods. And we realized that, in order to do that, we had like a long runway of really making that business profitable. So, bootstrapped, with only the money that we had saved up to really fund the business and with an intention to not take investor money so that we could have full control of the business. We realized that we wanted to, make profit, our first priority in terms of starting the business. So we kind of explored around, we realized that a lot of our shopping behaviors were migrating towards Amazon. And as we talked to more vendors, they told us that they were always competing with Amazon. So we kind of saw that as like, hey, maybe there's an opportunity here. So we went ahead and kind of, looked around, poked around and learned more about Amazon, learned about FBA, and decided to kind of, start off and launch 3 products. So we did that. And in our first month, by this point, it was like 6 months into starting a business. And by like our 8th month, which is like 2 months turnaround time for starting a private label business, we did more in our first month in revenue than our past 6 months combined.
Wow.
And so that was when, we realized, holy crap, this is a huge opportunity. And we basically dropped everything else, doubled down, and focused on focused on scaling our private label.
All right, let me get this straight.
So starting with the,
Sorry,
yeah,
within the 2 month period, you guys launch 3 private label products.
that's right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So we did like about 2 to 3 months, or sorry, 2 to 3 weeks of research prior to that. But then once we went ahead and put down our inventory and everything, we air shipped a bunch of inventory, which I wouldn't recommend, but we wanted to get launched as quickly as possible to kind of, see if this business model was something that would work. Our whole thing is we want to test before we fully commit to something. And we figured if we would launch with 3 products, it's enough for us to know whether or not this business model works. So we launched 3 products, and yeah, we did more revenue in the first month than we had in the past 6, and then we decided to scale. So in our first year, and that was like starting that like February or March, we did about 2.3 million in revenue. In our second year, we hit 7, and this past year we did 10.
Wow.
So we've grown quite a bit. Now we have 150 different private label SKUs that we sell in the US and UK and Canada. And yeah, we've just been really focused on growing and adding to our product line.
That's amazing. The 150 SKUs in 3 years. Do you want to maybe speak on a little bit about what you're going to be talking about at our conference? And
Sure.
then maybe we can go into a little bit more detail if you like.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we'll be covering a couple different topics. I think we're still nailing that out. But, my business partner and I, we're going to be talking about how to scale from the 7 to 8 figure mark. We know a lot of sellers who hit like $1 million in sales a year doing private label, maybe even like 3 million. But getting to that like $10 million mark, there are a lot of roadblocks and challenges that we personally face. And so, we're going to talk and cover like what really separates like a 7-figure business to an 8-figure business, because there's a lot of supply chain issues, a lot of cash financial issues. So just a lot of learning lessons and pain points that we've kind of come across. But I guess today, more specifically, I'll be talking about, the product launch process and how, like, when we get a product and into the Amazon warehouse, what our strategy is around just launching the product and making sure that it's a success as much as possible.
Do you want to tell us the story about how you got connected with your business partner? This is Fernando.
Yeah.
Fernando Cruz, and he's going to be also speaking at the event as well. So we're very excited to hear you guys both speak. So how did you decide, like in the beginning, that he was kind of the right partner for you to kind of launch your private label business?
Yeah, a lot of people ask us this question because I think a lot of people, when they start an Amazon business, they do it kind of as a solo entrepreneur. For us, we weren't sure that, you got to keep in mind, we didn't know that Amazon was going to be our business when we got together. But both he and I, we had worked together to start it before. He's actually, one of my best friends from college. And we both kind of had the same ambition. We knew we wanted to, build a business so we could design a lifestyle around that. And we really wanted to have autonomy and control over our lives. But, I think Fernando and I, we always had those similar mindsets, but more importantly, we always knew that we balanced each other out. I think Fernando, he's like very operational, very technical. And I think for me, I'm more like big picture, more marketing driven. And both of us, we have very different opinions about how to solve a problem, almost like to extremes, one side and the other. But we always realize that we kind of meet in the middle, and that ends up being the right answer. I think, one of the core things for us to get to that 8-figure mark has been our business partnership, because, when you're putting down like $50,000 for a PO or 60,000, those are big decisions to make. And if you are making that decision by yourself, you're less likely to make riskier decisions. But I think, when you are working with a business partner and you need to make a big decision, if you make a mistake, at least both of you are kind of dealing with that. And that, hey, at the end of the day, we can suffer through this like mistake together and figure it out together, because two heads are better than one.
Right.
So I think that's really allowed us to make really big, risky decisions. Not to say that, it's full of risk. I mean, that's for any business, but it's allowed us to kind of work together and say, okay, like this is a risk that we have to take. It's either going to really work or not work. And fortunately, like most of the time, it's ended up working, because again, our answers meet in the middle, and we end up taking a position that covers all the concerns that both of us have.
What would you say a couple skills or personality traits that you've been able to take from the startup world and to kind of migrate that for the successes that you see in your private label business?
I think, the startup world moves so quickly, and I think that's the main thing. I used to work at a company, and I was like the 6th employee. And by the time I left, they had, let's say, 30 in the US and like, a couple thousand in the Philippines. And now they have over 150 employees, and they do like 190 million in revenue. And that's within like 5 years. So I think, from that experience, we've seen businesses grow and scale very quickly. And we realize the common denominator for all of those is a willingness to move quickly and learn from your mistakes, because, mistakes are inevitable in any business. And really what you're trying to find out is you want to test your assumptions and your hypothesis. So as long as you can move quickly, you fail forward, and you learn from your mistakes, that's really, I think, the key lesson that I took away, which is it's better to move fast, make a decision, and learn from any kind of mistakes that you've made than to, worry about having 100% of those decisions be correct, because inevitably failure is going to be part of the process. So it's really about how quickly you can recover and how quickly you can continue to make decisions to move forward. So I think that's what we took away.
Well said. Well said. I think a lot of people, when they face a little bit of adversity or they make a mistake, something happens that doesn't necessarily go their way, then it kind of pits them into like analysis process or
100%.
self-doubt. I'm interested to know what type of mistakes that you guys, what are kind of the, maybe not necessarily the biggest mistakes, but kind of ones that had, the most impact, or ones where they were the most challenging for you and Fernando get past.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are a couple. When I really pinpoint it down and I think about our journey in our first year, our biggest, I wouldn't say a mistake, but our bottleneck was really cash. So, with an inventory heavy business, like, you got to manage your cash flow effectively. And that was something that we had to, learn how to do. So that means knowing when you double down and you take on more loans, you take on more debt so that you can grow your business further. And that's, our first year, the lesson that we learned. I think our mistake that we made in our second year was really focusing on revenue and not on profit. I think we brought on a lot of SKUs in the second year. A lot of them we've actually let go of. And that was our lesson, which is really knowing on a per SKU basis whether you're profitable or not. And so we have some key metrics that we look at. We look at ROI, obviously, but we also look at something that we call cash efficiency, which is basically, all your net after ads, after everything, after Amazon's fees, divided by how much that inventory cost you to purchase. So that includes the freight cost, right? So let's say, you make $10 off of a product and it costs you $3 to buy. Sorry, let me turn off my notifications. It costs you $10 to buy, your cash efficiency would be 300%. And so when we did this analysis, we basically went through every SKU, and we realized that we were actually holding on to a lot of inventory or products that might have done well in inventory in terms of revenue, but really on a per profit basis, we were making like 20 cents for every dollar we were investing into a product. So we really switched that to where if we bring on a product, we need to at least make $1 for every dollar invested. And that's kind of, the basis that we look at everything. So anything that underperforms, that's less than $1 return on $1 spent, then we let go of that product and we make sure that we allocate that money and that cash into something that returns better for us. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really an important key point, which is when you're managing a bunch of SKUs, you want to make sure you're not stuck to your revenue. Your revenue really means nothing unless you're looking at the bottom line profit and how that compares to how much money you're investing in that inventory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Sorry, I just want to clarify. When you say that you want to make $1 per dollar invested, is this like a per year basis? Is this based on a certain time period? Or you say, oh, I'll make $1 someday. It could be, a month from now. It could be 5 years from now.
That's a great question. So that's the second part of that, right? Which is you want to make the dollar back on the dollar invested as quickly as possible. Now, since we're sourcing most of our products from China, that's probably going to be like $1 back for $1 invested over a period of 3 months, right? Because, you need to source, you need to pay for air shipping or freight shipping. If it's freight, that timeline is about 3 months. If it's air, maybe like 1 to 2 months. But, we've kind of played around with working with domestic suppliers too, because we can theoretically get that product within 30 to 40 days, which shortens the time frame. So really, you want to return as much as possible within a short time frame. And that's the second part of the equation that we're really finessing now and playing around with. So I think, the ideal situation is the shortest amount of time. If you can turn around, let's say 50 cents for $1 within 2 weeks, then that's better than $1 return over 3 months, right? So, I think that. Sorry?
Never mind.
Sorry, guys. Oh. My internet copped out for like 10 seconds, so I lost.
No worries.
At the end of there.
Sorry. One last thing, Dang. So the final thing is talent, and I think that's like the most important thing, which is, we realized that in order to grow past that 7-figure mark, we needed to not be the bottleneck for all the decisions being made in the company. So we've really doubled down and made sure that everyone we bring into the company has a strong background in like inventory planning or logistics management, because we need to be able to scale our decisions. We don't want to be the ultimate decision maker for every decision at the company. So we got to hire people who can make those decisions for us. And that's been our third biggest lesson.
That's a good point. Who was your first hire? Like for what role? And when did you guys decide on that?
So our first hire, I would say our first hire was, a team member overseas in the Philippines. And that was when we first just got started. We hired a customer support person. And so we knew early on that like customer support is not something that we should spend our time doing. It should be handled by someone who can, whose time is better spent doing that rather than ours. So, I think from the get-go, we've really been stringent about understanding like, is this worth our time, or is this going to take up time that could be better spent making bigger decisions, focusing on our bottom line, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think similar to cash flow, where you're looking at how your cash is being spent, we look at our time as also currency of, is customer support the best return on our time? And if it's not, then we need to go ahead and delegate that off to someone else.
Mm-hmm. I had actually another follow-up regarding, you said that you source domestically as well. What percentage of your 150 SKUs are sourced domestically?
You said domestically?
Yeah, domestically. And what challenges do you face sourcing domestically? I know there's a lot of logistical challenges with sourcing from China, language barrier, time zones, just the time that it takes to get the product over here. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on like getting suppliers that are local.
Yeah. So, to be honest, like I would say maybe 5% of our products are domestic. We're really trying to expand that number because we've really just built a team around sourcing internationally. Plus, but the funny thing is pricing is kind of comparable. The only difference is that surprisingly, domestic suppliers aren't as on top of their stuff as overseas suppliers. I think maybe overseas suppliers, they're used to having a huge influx of inquiries. But, when we talk to domestic suppliers here in the US, a lot of them take like weeks to respond, or, a couple of days. And that's just a lot of time being spent trying to find people and follow up. And so I found that to be the case with domestic suppliers. But when we do find someone that's good, that ends up being awesome. I mean, that works out better for our financials and everything.
Yeah.
By the way, dang, I just got an inquiry from Julie for a question. Should I like touch on those, or should we just touch on those after, our conversation?
Sure. No.
Okay.
By all
So
means.
Julie asked me, aren't you using FBA for customer support? Yeah, we are. But we're you can answer messages through FBA, and that's what we were doing that made us realize that we need to hire someone else to do that for us. So yeah, we were getting enough of volume to where I was spending maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours a day replying to customer support, and I just realized that it just wasn't the best use of my time.
Okay, Nick. So I've sold $1 million of let's say a couple products of a brand of products that I have on one line. How do I get from 1 million to 10 million?
I mean, you got to add more SKUs, unquestionably. And I think it's also, an important point is, initially when we first started launching our products, we really launched broadly, meaning like, let's say we sold a ladder, we'd sell an unrelated product, let's say, boxes or something that we felt like made a lot of money, and they did do well, but we realized that the lifetime of that product was really low because we didn't go deep enough into categories. So my point is that, initially when you're getting started, it might be really attractive to basically do a bunch of different products that might not be related because you're looking on a profit basis, which is good. But beyond that, we realized that like our life cycles were shortened because once we had a good product, we'd find like 20 other competitors copying us and offering better value. And so we realized, in our second year that we were better off going deep into a category. And let's say I sell a ladder. I would sell a 2-pack of a ladder. Then I'd sell a ladder bundle. Then I'd sell all these different additional listings that offered more value in order to cannibalize my own sales. Because if I don't cannibalize my own sales, someone else is going to do it for me. And so now our strategy is how do we expand our offering to make sure that we are the dominant player within this product category? And how do we continue to expand so that other people, look at us and say, wow, this brand really dominates this category. I'd rather not, overtake them because it seems like I wouldn't have a good chance of overtaking them. So it's really about building a moat. And I think if you're going really broad, selecting a bunch of unrelated products, you're not building a moat. You're really shortening your life cycle of your product. And that happened to, most of our products in our first year. And a lot of them we just don't have anymore. We haven't continued.
I know with a lot of gurus and a lot of people teaching courses and stuff like that, I see a lot of things like, how to launch a private label product with under $1,000. And if it's simply something where you're looking at a category or an industry where your competitors just have, worse listings, or, if you're going in there, you're just improving the image or titles, bullet points, I think you'll see a little bit of a surge in profit for a couple SKUs, like you said, in the short term.
Right.
But after that, like the competitors will catch up. They just need to go set up shop, get some good pictures, get some copywriting, and they've kind of leveled the playing field. And that's just not enough barrier to entry. That's not a good long-term strategy.
Totally. I mean, the beauty of FBA is that it's so easy to enter, right? Like anyone can start an FBA business. So really, but that's also a downside because that means that a lot of people are trying to enter and eat your lunch. So really, I think a big focus of ours is how do you build that moat? And to do that, I think you got to continue offering value. I would personally never recommend that someone, like you said, launch an exact same product and try to cut down on price because that's a losing game. The best way to do it is to add more value by offering maybe the same product at like a little more expensive price, let's say $1 or $2 more expensive, but you're doing a 2-pack or you're doing a 3-pack or you're doing, some kind of bundle that's interesting. Because then you're offering value from the get-go and you have a lot more margin to work with. So let's say you sell 1-pack for $10. You could sell a 2-pack for $15, but your margin is way bigger, right? Let's say it costs you $1, then your margin is $13. Whereas the other guy, his margin is only $9.
Yeah.
So I have a lot more room to work with to drop my price and still be profitable. He does not. And so that's what you want to consider. It's like, after ads, let's say ads cost 10% of all your revenue. you want to make sure that that moat that you have, even financially, is as big as possible. And you do that by offering a brand or product that has a higher perceived value. And that's the way we approach it. So we would never choose a product that isn't better in terms of value than an existing product.
Are you modifying products right now?
You mean like doing custom stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of our products we do, like, I think what we do is we try to do the value thing first, and then we try to see if that product's going to be successful or not. If we see traction, then we'll know that, hey, this is a category we should invest in, and we'll double down. So, I look at it like, blackjack, right? You look at the certain different signs that indicate to you that this product category is good. And if those signs test positive, then we'll double down and invest in that category. And that means doing custom products, doing more variety, doing different colors, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, we will do that, but we will not do that unless it's been proven to us that that product works. Right. And so it goes back to the whole theory of moving quickly and learning to work from your mistakes. So we're willing to make a mistake and say, okay, we want to minimize our risk up front. So we're going to launch 5 products, and we expect that maybe 3 of those products aren't going to do well. But if 2 of those products do well, then that means we have indication to move forward on 2 products and expand on those. So that minimizes our risk. So that's kind of how we look at selection.
So in the beginning, when you're saying you're offering value, besides say multi-packs and bundles, what other offerings are there to add more value?
I think like sizes, let's say you're selling baby blankets. Maybe there's an existing size and you find that people are buying multiple packs because they want like a bigger size and they want to connect it or something. That's an example of where you could solve a problem by offering a product that doesn't exist by making it a bigger size. Or let's say, there's a product that, it's like a baby something, and it's really big and bulky. Maybe you could separate it into 2 pieces and pack it together so that the shipping cost is less. So ultimately the fulfillment fees are less for you, so you can charge less. But on top of that, it's easy to carry around.
I see.
So those are different ways that you can play around with it. It's like maybe a product is designed really badly, and you can actually design it better to where it makes a smaller package. We see that as a huge margin opportunity to where we can offer it in a better package. We can make it smaller. It's the same product theoretically, but it costs us a lot less to ship, and that's our huge advantage. This guy can't change his product. So those are the different factors that we look at.
I suspect that with 150 SKUs in 3 years, you guys have some pretty good processes down. How quickly are you guys launching any one product nowadays?
I mean, we launch anywhere from like 4 to 5 products a month. So, again, our strategy is really going deep into categories now. So we have enough products where we realize what products are doing well or not. And so we have a weekly profitability report that we look at, and we also look at daily stats that tell us like how each product is doing on a per unit, per SKU basis profitably. And we'll look at those cash efficiency ratios, those different metrics to evaluate, okay, well, this product looks very promising, then let's go ahead and double down on that. And we'll launch 3 or 4 products of that same category in the next 3 months. So we have a constant incoming inflow of product launches that have been sourced from 3 to 4 months prior. So every single month we're moving through, and our goal is really to expand our offering with existing suppliers rather than to expand our supplier base. Reason being, as you scale, you want to minimize the amount of suppliers you work with so that you can be a bigger portion of their business. And by doing that, you have more economies of scale. You can get better pricing. Your supply chain becomes simplified. But if you're working with 40 different suppliers, I mean, it's a massive headache.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we try to integrate it and simplify it.
I like to just rewind it just a little bit. So I'm interested to know when you're just your research phase, when you're looking at, I understand now if you have a few products that you've tested, and you're like, okay, these couple products are good to go, and then we're just going to dive deep and go really deep into a category. How are you, what is your kind of process when you're first selecting that industry? Say you want to enter a new market, how are you determining, okay, this is the market we want to enter, these are the products we want to start with?
I think margins first. So we look at margins, and we make sure that we incorporate, the data that we've collected into how we select a product. So I mentioned 10% ad spend. We found that across the board, our ad spend for all our revenue for every single product equals out to somewhere between like 7 to 10%. So just to be conservative, we'll automatically take out 10% of the revenue when we're evaluating a product to say, oh, that's what our ultimate end margin is going to be. Because we want to factor in all the costs involved and make sure that, that's done. And after that, we want to at least have 30 to 40% gross margin. So, after ads, after all the fees, we're still making 30 to 40% of the revenue. Then that's like our basis for making decisions going forward. And the next important thing that's equally as important is looking at competition. How competitive is the market? Are the ads, relevant to the keywords or the primary keywords? If it's very relevant and there's a lot of offerings, that to me is an indication that it's very competitive. However, if for that primary keyword, there's a lot of different products that aren't really related, that to me is an indication that's not that competitive because, there's still other people bidding on an irrelevant keyword. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So relevancy is something that we look at. And then obviously we evaluate the competition and then we identify, okay, if we do like a multi-pack or if we do different colors, then that increases our margins. And also, is there a proven data point using Jungle Scout that tells me that people want this color? And that's kind of how we do it. But I would say competition and margins are the most important things that we look at.
Mm-hmm. What is that range of the range that you look at in terms of like there's the blue ocean strategy where it's little competition versus a market that is a little bit more mature that that okay, there's definitely sales happening here. So where do you guys kind of fall on that pendulum?
Sorry, I don't really understand the question.
So in terms of competition, what is your criteria, like more specifically, like how do you know when a market is too competitive or if there's too little competition in terms of like there's not enough market in an industry?
I think that's something that is like both a science and art. Some of it is intuition because we've evaluated so many products and launched so many products. So we have a good sense of like what makes something competitive by looking at the sellers as well. If you look at the sellers, you look at like, are they PPCing for the top 10 keywords that you think are the top 10 keywords? I will look at them and say, okay, well, this seller doesn't seem that sophisticated. So I actually think I could probably overtake them. If there are 5 sellers that are all private label guys, they've all taken like the amazing course or whatever, that to me is like, I probably don't want to go there because they're all playing by the same rules, and if it's sold by Amazon, like Vendor Central, then I'll see that as like a positive thing because Amazon doesn't really do much to promote their listings. So these are all things I take into account. There's also the AMS headline ads. If there's no one actually doing an AMS headline ad, that to me is an indication that it's not that competitive, it's not that saturated. And of course, I'll also look at reviews, and see like how they're dominating. But I would say a good basis to go by is, identify 10 primary keywords that you think that listing or your potential product might rank for, and look at like the competition. How many good competitors are listed for all those top 10 keywords? Mm-hmm. And if you do like an Excel sheet and you like match them and see where they're placed, you might be able to find an opportunity for like 3 or 4 of those keywords where they're not ranked. Yeah. And that's kind of how I would evaluate them. I would, obviously reviews are important to look at too. If everyone has like 200 or 300 reviews or more, and they're all doing really well and they all like drown out the first page, it's probably pretty competitive, and I probably wouldn't go into it.
So speaking of reviews, do you want to touch a little bit on your launch strategy?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess let me think of where to begin. So I'm going to start from like once the product has arrived at the warehouse. I mean, obviously, you should have everything done. You should have your main image, your images, your copy, your keyword research, all that done. But I think the really important things in terms of pre-work are your images and your keyword research and your optimization. So we like using a tool called seller.tools. It's been amazing. They actually pull their data and their keyword data directly from Amazon, which most keyword tools don't use.
This is this is seller.tools.io.
Seller.tools.
Oh, seller.tools.
Yeah, and they have an ability to pull exact searches and broad searches, which is incredible. And they'll actually be able to match your relevancy for a key term against your listing. So what I like to do is I like to plug in my competitors' ASINs in there. I like to pull in all the key terms. And then I like to, make sure that my listing is as optimized as possible. You can use that, feature in seller tools. And then for my main images, I will look at all my competition and look at what they're doing for their images. And I'll think about, how do I make my main image different and stand out from the rest? It could be something as simple as, if I sold a white plate, or if I sold a set of plates, right? And they're all multicolored, or sorry, actually, let me start again. If I sold like a food container, let's say, for example, and everyone else is selling food containers, but they're all just empty food containers, I would sell a product that has containers with actually meals prepped inside of it, and show that as a use case. And that stands out from the rest because it's colorful, it's vibrant, it stands out. I add a shadow effect because it adds like a premium look to it. And that's like a really important thing for page views and sessions. So standing out from the rest is super important. If it looks generic, there's no reason someone's going to pick you from anyone else other than price. Right. So that, I try to make as many reasons for why they click into my listing than for them to click in someone else's listing. And then I also make sure that, I make best use of the images. In the images, there's actually feature copy. So, highlight specific features. I use enhanced brand content. And then once I'm fully optimized, then what I'll do is I will utilize my email list, which I've gathered through having paper inserts with every product. So in every product that we sell, and we sell like 50,000 units a month, it has like, hey, join our VIP discount list, join our email list, and we will give you like 90% discounts every single month for new products that we launch. So we have like, 7,000 to 8,000 emails. And we actually, within that group of 7,000 to 8,000, created a product review tester club. And so this is a group of people who like love getting discounted products and love our brand. And so we'll say, hey, we have limited spots for this club, but we actually don't. And it's like, we have like 300 people who like are willing to do a review. They're willing to get reimbursements for that review. They're willing to get rebates. And then they're actually a verified review on the listing. So that's how we utilize it. We try to find like the super engaged people within our larger email list. And then we make sure we build a relationship with them and that they understand what process we're looking. We've done a couple of reviews. They're really excited to continue doing more reviews for our other products. And so we'll get to like 10 reviews on a listing. We'll run PPC. And then usually with PPC, I'll know how competitive the product is. Mm-hmm. If the product has like 40 to 50% ACoS, then that's an indication to me right out the gate that it's actually not bad. But if the listing has like 200 to 300% ACoS for like 3 weeks, that to me is an indication that like, hey, this product is pretty competitive for all the keywords that I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. And within 3 to 4 weeks, I'll know this product that isn't going to do well. Then I'll focus on liquidating that inventory so that I can move it into something else that seems to be more promising. Yeah. So that's kind of our strategy. And so I found that Amazon, their algorithm right now favors newer listings. So in the first 14 days of launching your product, you'll start ranking ahead of other older listings because they want to give Amazon customers a variety to find a product that they like. So if they find that your listing converts well, it seems relevant, you'll start getting placed higher and higher for those key terms. And if it's not, then you'll know early as well. So I try to take advantage of that 14-day window, as quickly as I can. And, I try to make a decision within the first 4 weeks of that listing being live to decide whether to continue or to let go. And we need to make those decisions quickly.
Mm-hmm. I'm really glad you brought up that point. A lot of people will ask me questions about certain things where it seems like they're a little bit too emotionally attached to their product. And especially with this type of model, you can't be emotionally attached to any one product. A couple of things that I really like that you brought up that I wanted to just elaborate slightly on is, number one, the inserts. What type of conversion rate are you finding with inserts? And what are you doing? What are you doing for it to get such, a good number of people on your email list through inserts?
Well, I mean, we sold a lot of products. So, that's probably why we move a lot of units a month. But, what we say is look, like you can get this product for 90% off, if you're part of our list. So we also do like we do like $100 Amazon gift card giveaway every single month to our users. And every week, we'll fire off a couple deals that we want to, promote. Or if you have lightning deals scheduled, we'll send them an email saying, hey, there's a lightning deal. You guys should take advantage. So you continue to offer value and you make sure that the people who like discounts, jump on your listing and hop on there. And if they like your product, then you'll easily grow, a list of people who are interested. I would say, for every single person who visits our landing page, we probably get like a 60-70% conversion rate. But again, not all of those people convert into an actual sale, So, you want to get that base to be as big as possible. A cool thing you can do is you can actually use Facebook. So you can use those email lists that you gathered, put it into a targeting list, and then you can actually create a lookalike audience, or you can retarget them and say, hey, we have this discount code or whatever, we're promoting this product, and use it as like a launch strategy.
Yeah.
So that's an alternative method that you can use too.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the point about building an audience that's specific to your industry, so that you can have a list of people that you can, promote to as soon as your next product goes live.
Exactly. And I think, if you can get like 100 or 150 people who love discounts, who like your product, and you don't push them for a review because that's against terms of service, but you say, hey, we value your feedback, we really want to improve our product. And then, when you reach out to them, our VA handles this, but when you reach out and they actually get the product, we'll reach back out in like a week and say, hey, what'd you think of it? Let us know. And if they leave a positive review, we'll say, hey, we're really glad you like that review. It would be great if you could post this review to Amazon. No pressure, but here's a link just in case you're interested. Oftentimes, because they've got the product for free, they'll go ahead and do that. And that's one verified review right there. So,
and I like how there's kind of like a process involved with that. There's taking them through specific parts of a funnel to get them to say yes. It's not just, hey, here's a review, because as I think everybody knows, if you just try to send people to your review link as soon as they get your product, it generally does not work very well.
Totally.
So just a couple questions from the people in the group here. Have you ever attended Canton Fair?
Yeah. So I attended Canton Fair for the first time last year, but my business partner went the year before, and last year we went together. Canton Fair is cool. It's really big. It's super massive, for those of you guys that have been. But I personally don't think it's a good place to find products. Reason being, there's just so many products out there. You really need to do your research before selecting a product. So, I think it's good to meet manufacturers. If you know what you're looking for, I think it's very valuable. And if you have existing manufacturers, I think the most valuable thing of going to China is actually meeting your manufacturers at Canton Fair or meeting them in person. It means a lot to a manufacturer that you're willing to go out and meet them. I would recommend hiring a translator as well if you don't speak Chinese, because they see that you're willing to offer value and you want a long-term relationship. It's called guanxi. So for us, we try to make sure we build that relationship, and I think the partnership you have with your manufacturer is so important. I would say it's almost more important than the price you get from them, because there's more factors involved in sourcing than just price. There's how willing are they to make sure that they meet your delivery requirements on time? How frequently do they make mistakes? How quickly are they responding to your inquiries? How quickly are they willing to give you discounts or credits if your products are defected? These are all super important things that grow as you scale, or problems that grow as you scale. So finding a supplier that's willing to work with you for the long term is really important. And I think meeting them in person goes a long way. So I personally think the value of going to China is really meeting your manufacturers over just going to the Canton Fair, although that's cool too. That's been my experience.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up. The relationships in business it's the most important thing. I think people overlook that sometimes when they say, "Oh, I got X cost for this product," and totally. I think it's very price driven when people are looking to negotiate. And I think people have like a negotiate first mentality versus a, hey, let's build a rapport, let's build this relationship with the supplier first.
Right.
Glad you mentioned that. Julie wants. Doyle had a question. How do you handle warranty defects, shipping damages?
So for warranties, most of our products have a lifetime warranty. You'll find that most people don't take advantage of that. They just like knowing that they have that. And most people don't actually act on their warranty except for the first couple of weeks of having the product. Afterwards, it's unlikely that they'll do it. But even for the ones that actually use the warranty later on down the line, we just do it because we want to make sure that we build a long-term customer relationship. As they see our brand on Amazon, we want to make sure that their experience is positive and that they know that, hey, if this product doesn't work well, even if there are some bad reviews, I know that I can actually trust this manufacturer. So I'm going to go ahead and buy their product. More often than not, it works out. And so we haven't really had an issue with that. I would say, if you sell a fragile item, and we sell some glass products, make sure that your packaging is solid. You want to do drop tests. You want to do all different kinds of tests, because we had a nightmare with that. And that's something that you really want to make sure that in the shipping process that your package has been tested, because Amazon, in terms of FBA, they don't care how your product is packaged. They'll just put it inside a box and it's going to get dropped all over the place. So that's something that we've really taken into account. In terms of, defects and shipping damages, I guess, yeah, I think that addresses shipping damages. But for defects, again, this goes back to having a good relationship with your manufacturer. We also do inspection reports with every single manufacturer, no matter what, no matter how long we've worked with them. And if we find a defect that happened in the first batch of products, we'll make sure that that's delineated in the relationship with the inspection report, so that they're testing for that exact defect that we're looking for. And if there's a product, that manufacturer is going to have to own up to it, because it hasn't even shipped out to us yet, because our terms are 30/70, meaning we pay 30% up front and we don't pay 70% until it's arrived at the port. So.
Okay. Julie would like for you to expand on PPC cost.
What about PPC cost, Julie? Oh, I was told from an next day he was saying, okay, so yeah, let me expand on that, Julie. I just saw your follow-up. So no,
sorry, this is in reference to 40% ACOS.
Right. Okay. So I said 40% ACOS because that's the initial ACOS. So again, your ACOS is going to be high when you're first launching a product, no matter what, because Amazon is testing all these keywords, right? They're testing all these keywords, seeing if you place. A lot of them aren't going to convert. However, if you have 40% ACOS right out the gate, that's actually very good, because you have a lot of room for improvement. So if you get 40% or sub 100%, that to me is an indication that your product is not that competitive, because you're actually converting on a bunch of keywords, even though you're also not converting on a bunch as well. If your ACOS is over 100%, it indicates to me that most of the keywords that Amazon is placing for you for are not converting well. So that's why, I say 40% as an initial base, but your goal from 40% is to reduce that and make sure your listing and your PPC campaigns are more optimized over time. So I like to shoot for 20 to 25%. It really depends on what your margins are after ads. Overall, our business after ads, and after all of Amazon costs, not including our operating expenses, is going to be 30%, right? Our net. And so, as long as my overall ACOS is under 30%, then I'm happy. If my ACOS is 20% on an account level, that means I'm still making 10% overall, because my gross after all the fees and after all the ads is 30%. So, I would say you want to normalize your ads to like 20 to 25% or lower if possible. But that, I would say 40 to 50%, that's a benchmark for when your product starts launching, because it's unlikely, unless the product is super not competitive, that it's going to be any lower than that when you're first launching a product.
David wants to know on high discount codes on products that don't generate verified reviews, how do you give free products or highly discounted products while allowing for verified reviews on Amazon?
Yeah, great question. So that's a new thing where Amazon, any kind of discounted products, they don't allow you to review it. We actually use a great tool that's actually created by one of our friends, Leo. It's called Rebate Key. So rebatekey.com. And that tool is a great system that allows someone to purchase a product for full price. And the system actually reimburses them once they've proven that they purchased it and they've received it. And so that's a system that we use. It basically is kind of like an escrow. So, when I make 50 coupon codes, Rebate Key will actually hold my money for those 50 rebate codes. And if someone requests to buy that product, they will buy it. And then once they receive it, they'll show proof of purchase, and then they'll get refunded for that inventory or for what they purchased. So then when they leave a review, you don't force them, but when they do, they can leave a review and it'll be verified because they actually purchased it at full price. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Rebatekey.com.
Rebatekey.com.
Interesting. Liza has a question. Do you recommend using a launch service, or do you only do PPC at the beginning, and when do you stop? Obviously, a lot of people don't have audiences that they can promote to right away.
Yeah. So I would say it depends. If you don't have an audience that you want to promote to right away and your goal is reviews, I would say drop your price, to maybe break even or a little bit above, and then drive PPC, try to get traffic, and then make sure you're very aggressive about your email follow-up campaign. That's probably a way to get initial traction. Your conversion rates are going to be a little lower if you don't have a group, but that's fine. I mean, you got to start somewhere. But in terms of a launch service, I think the question was about using like Zon Blast or like Viral Launch, those kind of tools, versus PPC. I would say that for us, we actually use PPC first. And we have a lot of experience in our first year of like giving away 1,000 units of inventory for certain keywords. And we realized over time that we were losing a lot of money, like we were literally just throwing money away. And so, what we do now is we found PPC to be very good for a starting point. And then over time, we'll use the data from PPC and also seller tools to basically identify the top 5 keywords that we think are ones that we should do a better job of ranking for. And then if I find that the sales still aren't good, we'll use a service like zonjump.com, which actually uses Facebook ads to drive traffic to your listing and do discount codes so you can promote for a keyword. And we'll use that to basically give away for certain long tail keywords that are more specific. And then that way we can refine and improve that listing over time. So that's our strategy. I prefer not to do a blast out the gate because you're kind of guessing. You don't really know until you have the data to really support what you're blasting for. And I think the PPC is really good for that.
Okay. Next question. What's the going rate you pay your VAs? Which one's better, per hour or per month? And what qualities are you looking for when you're choosing a VA?
It really depends. I mean, it depends on the skill set. If it's customer support, I mean, probably not more than $3.50 to $4 an hour. And I'll probably do hourly, just because, I think it's one of those things where with customer support emails, sometimes it's busy, sometimes it's not. So, I prefer to pay per hour in those situations. But it's really up to you. You can pay monthly, and I think sometimes they prefer that. And in terms of per hour or per month, it depends on the role. We pay per month on roles that are more high level. So for our inventory planner, our logistics manager, our finance person, they're all monthly, because those roles aren't as clear cut in terms of how many hours they're working. It might be a lot, it might be less. So we prefer to make it more of a salaried position. But again, and in terms of pay, per month, our VAs cost anywhere from $400 a month all the way to someone who's super high level, like formerly a VP at a company, to $2,200 a month US. So again, it varies. I would say the more mature you are as a company, the more you'll need those higher level roles, and the more you'll probably be willing to pay for those higher level roles, because a comparable role in the US is way more expensive. So that to us is a no-brainer. But initially, when you're first getting started, I would say, if you're looking for a VA to do general tasks, anywhere from like $400 to $700 is probably a ballpark range per month.
Just to follow up, how many VAs do you have, and kind of in general, what are their main tasks?
We have 16 team members overseas in the Philippines. So it's a really big team. I mean, it's 4 times the size of our team here in the US. And so, sorry, what was your follow-up question to that?
And what are the main tasks? I know you said customer service and finances and logistics, but are there like 12 VAs taking care of customer service?
No. So we've actually broken up our business into departments. We have a product development team, we have a support team, we have a marketplaces team, we have a wholesale team. So, we have enough, business units to where we can break it out into teams and then break it out into actual like roles per department. So I would say if you're first starting out, it's unlikely that your business is sophisticated enough to get there. You'll probably be more general because everyone's kind of got their hands in different things. For us, we have, a logistics manager, someone who handles all of our freight forwarding, our inventory planner, someone who handles, our replenishment. We have another inventory planner who handles our domestic replenishment. We have a sourcing person that's based in China. We have, basically essentially a CFO who manages our cash flow and our accounting and our finances. We have an internal support person and a customer and an external support person, a sourcing person, and we have like a tech person as well. So just so, there's a lot of roles. But yeah, I mean, these are all broken up by departments, and that's really how we look at things. So if we find that there's something missing, then we'll actually go back to the organization board and say, okay, well, I think this department needs to be fleshed out more. We need this role to be hired under here. So that's kind of how we look at it.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. What is your profit or revenue target per product per month?
Okay, so I would say, in terms of dollars, this is one way to look at it. I like to make at least $500 a month in profit per product, right? Or sorry, $500 per week per product, for every single product. So it has to make $500 at minimum. And I'm also looking at the cash efficiency. So for those of you who didn't hear me earlier, cash efficiency is essentially your net margin. So that's after ads, after fees, divided by the cost per unit or cost of your total inventory. And that's the cost of the actual unit plus the shipping costs. So again, if I make $9 in profit after ads, after everything, and the product costs me $3 with, freight costs and everything included, my cash efficiency is 300%. I'm making $3 for every dollar that I invest into that product. So I want that number to be as high as possible. So but if it's 100% cash efficiency and I'm making $500 a week in profit, I'm fine with that. That means it costs me $500 to make $500 and I'm fine. So those are the numbers that I look for. Obviously, the higher the number, the better. We have a couple of products that are like 400% cash efficiency, 500% cash efficiency. And I mean, that's really what we want to optimize towards. So if we can find more products like that, I would let go of that 100% cash efficiency product and move it into a product that has a higher cash efficiency. So that's how I like to look at it. And, I really highly recommend that you break down every single product on a per SKU basis and get that data as frequently as possible. You can actually pull your ad spend on a per SKU basis and pull that into an Excel so that you can see what it looks like. And over time, we do it weekly. You can see week to week how that SKU is doing if you pull a pivot table or you just do a filter. And I'll see that, it looks like our cash efficiency is reducing. Why is that? Our margins are reducing. Our PPC costs are increasing over time. That's an indication to us that we need to investigate this product and find out what's happening. Is it more competitive? Our CPC is going up. Are we getting less impressions? Is our conversion rate, going out the door? These are all indicators, and you need to make sure that you're looking at numbers to guide your decisions around how to improve your product or whether to let it go.
That's a great answer. I'm just going to be a little bit mindful about time here. We're almost hitting the 1 hour mark, and okay. I'm sure we can sit here all night. Like I still have tons of questions I want to ask you. So we're just probably going to field maybe one or two more questions before we let you go, Nick.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything in particular, Dixon, do you have?
Let's see. I think there's, at the beginning you mentioned something, think about not a level up. What kind of competition scares you? Okay, so someone asked about competition, like what kind of competition scares me. I would say private labelers probably scare me the most. These are guys who really know how to get reviews. You see them adding like 5 reviews a day, 8 reviews a day or whatever. And maybe they're doing black hat tactics or whatever. But either way, that to me is scary, or people who, and their listing is really fleshed out. They're using all the right keywords. They have great images. And they have a bunch of different, I would say like a version of us, but for a different product that we're not into yet. That to me is like, I probably wouldn't touch that because they're a very sophisticated private labeler. So that's what I'm looking at. Some products, they may have thousands of reviews, but it's sold by Amazon, right? So that means maybe this product has been sold for like 8 years. That to me isn't necessarily scary unless this listing is proven to me that this private labeler knows what they're doing. So, I think there's a difference between someone who's been around for a long time and they've sold this product and it's very like untouched versus a product that has thousands of reviews because they've actively gotten those reviews. And those are the things I'll look at. One metric you can look at is how many reviews have they gotten over a period of time or over a time frame. Yeah. So if you find out that the listing has only been around for 2 years and they have 3,000 reviews, that's pretty good, or if they have 5,000 reviews in like a year, that's pretty scary. So that to me is like, those are some factors I look at into how good they are as a seller.
And those are the exact same tactics that you're looking to employ in any market you're entering, so that if, let's say, I or someone, another private label looks at your market, it'll be like, oh, damn, these guys know what they're doing. We should probably
100%. Yeah.
back off on
Yeah.
them.
Exactly. Another person said, you mentioned that you have employees in different departments. Are they all overseas, or are you actually hiring locally? So we have, two really high level employees here. We have someone who handles our supply chain in the US, and someone who handles or oversees all of our wholesale in the US. And then my business partner and I. And so these are, high level employees. They oversee a lot of our team in the Philippines, but most of our team is hired overseas. Reason being, there's actually an arbitrage of talent in the Philippines. I find that a lot of people who work for publicly traded companies, they don't want to work for a company in Manila anymore because they're driving 3 hours in traffic each way. And they'd rather make less money so they can work from home and spend time with their families. So, and you don't have to pay for health insurance. You don't have to pay for all these things. They're all on a contract basis. As an employer, it gives me a lot of room. If I need to fire employees because, let's say, I hit a cash flow issue, God forbid, but it gives me a lot of room. And also, a lot of these employees are way more grateful for their job. That's what I found, for the role that we're hiring for. They're willing to, do the work. They're willing to, let go of their ego and check their ego at the door because they're grateful for having a job that pays well relative, to what they would normally make and the flexibility that it provides. So we tend to like to hire overseas because of those reasons. And we found incredible talent, in the Philippines. Awesome.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
I think
I hope that was helpful.
No, this is incredibly helpful. There's a lot of golden nuggets dropped in that hour there. Nick Young, really appreciate your time. If you guys haven't got your tickets yet to the Great North E-commerce Conference, get it now. You can see Nick speak on stage. You'll be able to network with him and all the other speakers that we have coming to the event. So once again, Nick, thank you so much for your time, and we will see you in about 20 days, sir.
No problem. Yeah, I'll see you in 20 days, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
I hope you guys found this useful, guys. Take it easy. Bye.
Thanks a lot, Nick.